But it seems that the democratic countries, the United States, the Philippines has a cybercrime law on hold, that there's that difficult balance. People seem to think the internet should be free. How do you deal with that? With finding the balance between creating a democratic space and then trying to put the limits on it so that criminals and terrorists don't use it?
90% of the terrorist and the extremist websites, more than 10,000 terrorist and extremist websites and blog sites are hosted in the US. It's because of the laws. Laws are very weak. But I believe that there must be a greater discussion and there must be a global cyber regime where we do not allow criminals or terrorists to misuse the internet. There's more crime today in cyberspace by criminal organizations than in real space. So it is so crucial for governments to build partnerships with service providers, with the financial and the banking industry, with the lawmakers, and with others to have better control on the internet.
To close, let me bring you back to what's happening in the United States. So given these attacks, they succeeded again. It's kind of like the second Bali bombings in 2005. It's much smaller, but the success itself mutates the threat yet again, the fact that they were able to get through. What do you think will happen in the short term and the medium term coming up?
US must increase its surveillance on these groups that are operating in the US. US also must control their weapons and other material that can be used, what is called precursors, that can help people to build bombs. US also should work with other partners to fight global terrorism, international terrorism. Most Americans I know, they believe that they themselves can do everything by themselves. It is a strength of America, but it's also a weakness. I think that today it is crucial to move from that cooperation to collaboration, to have common databases, to have exchange of personnel, to have joint training, to have joint operations, to share expertise, experience, and resources. So there should be a new way of thinking. Terrorist groups are networking. They are working together. They are forming coalitions. Governments must do this beyond the Western world. Western world, what we call the international community, they are working together. But I think the partnership should be much more working with the major powers. That is the US building partnerships with the Russians, with the Chinese, with the Indians, and other countries.
Venkat, just to follow up on that as a last question, though, will they get over the power struggles that actually prevent true cooperation? You've been talking about cooperation and collaboration for more than a decade now. Things have improved, but what you're talking about is on a scale that would push each nation to put away what they're afraid of, what they consider as a threat to themselves in order to cooperate against terrorism. Is this realistic?
Governments, including the United States, advance geopolitical, geostrategic aspects. They put that ahead of security threats.
Correct.
And many countries do that, not only the United States. And I think that today we have to manage both. Governments needs to look at the geopolitical and the geostrategic interests, but also they need to work together with other countries, even if they may be competitors, to reduce a common threat. Terrorism is a common threat. And if you don't hold hands and work together, then those threats will erode and affect your society. What happened in the United States is an example of that. Terrorism is a common problem. It's like a pandemic. It's like a disease. It's like a virus. So if you don't work together, it will spread. And also the terrorists will go into other weapon systems. You can see they've moved to ricin.
Right.
They may consider other chemical and biological weapons, and that will
nuclear threats,
yes,
particularly.
I think that it is so important to focus on these groups and to do everything possible to reduce the capabilities of these groups.
Okay, thank you so much. We've been speaking with the head of the International Center for Political Violence and Terrorism Research, Rohan Gunaratna. He is also the author of the book on Al Qaeda, Inside Al Qaeda. I'm Maria Ressa. Please continue sending your questions. We'll get them to Rohan and get answers back to you. We'll continue to watch what's going on in the United States. Thank you for joining us.